A few months ago, I went on a camping trip in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm a 35-year-old middle school science teacher, and I thought I needed a break. I enjoy camping and wanted to reconnect with nature. I found a secluded campsite surrounded by tall trees and a calming brook. From the start, something felt off. Maybe I'd just been too stressed. I still can't shake it. I set up my tent that afternoon. The sun was setting and I made a fire under the stars. It felt peaceful at first. Hours passed and then I heard it. A soft rustling from the trees. I thought it was just wildlife. I grabbed my flashlight and went toward the noise. It was so quiet except for my footsteps crunching leaves. I stopped to listen again. Shadows moved, yet nothing was there. My heart raced, but I shook it off and returned to my tent. The second night was worse. I woke up suddenly, maybe from a humming sound. I was sure it wasn't a bird. A chill ran across my back. I told myself sounds traveled differently in the woods. I tried to ignore it and sleep, but shapes danced in my periphery. My mind was playing tricks on me, I thought. Every day I hiked to shake off that uneasy feeling. I noticed odd footprints near my tent. They looked like they were made by someone else who had been there while I slept. I thought I was alone. I met a local on my hikes. He seemed a bit crazy. He warned me about the watchers that came out at night. I laughed, but he looked serious. It felt like a bad horror movie. On the final night, I sat by the fire, feeling the forest was watching me. The humming returned, clearer this time. I heard distant voices but couldn't make sense of them. I turned, looking for anyone. My heart raced again. Then I saw a figure between the trees, almost like it was waiting for something. I couldn't see it clearly. I wanted to call out, but I felt frozen. It felt so cold. I blinked, hoping it would disappear. When I opened my eyes again, it was gone. At dawn, I packed my things, my head spinning. I was scared. Those sounds and shadows felt real. I drove home, the echoes of the forest left in my ears. I had so many questions. What did I encounter up there? I didn't want to find out. That trip has left me with 9 odd encounters I can't explain. I went for peace, but I returned with confusion. I still hear those strange sounds in my sleep. It's always there, lurking in my mind. I often wonder if I was truly alone. Did I meet something that night? I guess I'll never know. When I got home, I thought I could just forget about that trip. I tried to immerse myself in my routine, grading papers and prepping for class. But the unease lingered. I often found myself staring out the window, lost in thought, replaying every eerie moment of those nights in the forest. I hardly slept. Every creak of my house filled me with unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. One evening, I decided to look through my camping gear. I hoped to find something comforting, a reminder of my love for nature. As I rummaged through my backpack, I came across my notebook. I used it to jot down my thoughts and observations while camping. Flipping through it brought me back to the mountains. At the back there were sketches of the odd footprints I'd seen. I remembered how I'd been too spooked to make any real conclusions. As I turned the page, my pulse quickened. There was a drawing I didn't recognize. It was a rough sketch of the figure I'd seen in the woods, shadowy and tall with long limbs. Below it I had scribbled something. The Watchers. My mind raced. Had I written this in a panic? Or had my subconscious tried to convey something I hadn't seen? I didn't recall drawing it. I felt a chill run down my spine. I flipped to a fresh page, determined to document everything that came to mind. I wrote about the humming, the voices, the odd footprints. Something urged me to dig deeper. I typed my experience into a search engine, hoping to find anything about similar encounters. Hours passed, and I clicked through various forums and articles. Most were accounts of strange happenings in the woods, but one article caught my attention. It mentioned the Appalachian Watchers. My stomach dropped. The site described sightings of shadowy figures that seemed to observe campers, often only appearing at night. It continued on about unsettling sounds, whispers that drove some people mad. I couldn't read anymore. It felt too close to my own experience. Suddenly I heard a loud knock on my front door. My heart thumped hard. It was late and I wasn't expecting anyone. I hesitated, thinking maybe it was just the wind, but another knock followed, this time more insistent. I approached the door carefully. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a figure shrouded in darkness. Someone was there. I opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a disheveled man with wild eyes. It was the local from my camping trip, the one who had warned me about the Watchers. "I need to talk to you. It's important," he said, his breath quickened and face pale. "You shouldn't have gone there alone. They're following you." My stomach twisted. I thought about the notes in my backpack and the figure in the woods. Before I could respond, he reached forward, grabbing my wrist tightly. "You have to listen to me." Then everything around me went dark. I jolted awake, the room spinning around me. A cold sweat coated my skin. I blinked hard, trying to focus. The man was still there, but now we were in my living room. He had dragged me inside, and the door hung ajar behind him. "What happened?" I croaked, my voice hoarse as if I'd been shouting. I squinted, trying to make sense of my surroundings. "We don't have much time," he said, his eyes darting around as if he feared something lurking in the shadows. "They can come for you at any moment. You need to understand what you saw." "What are you talking about?" Panic rose in my chest. "I just saw a figure in the woods. I don't even know what it was." His expression darkened with fear. "It's not just a figure. It's part of something bigger. Those Watchers, they don't just observe. They can affect your mind. I only saw them a few times before I was left alone. The last time I went mad. I've been trying to warn everyone, but nobody believes me." "Why should I believe you?" I shot back, still grappling with the chaos of the night. "You're just some random guy who showed up at my door." "Because I know what you felt," he said, stepping closer, a desperate urgency in his voice. "You heard the humming, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. The memory of that sound tore through me like a jagged edge. "How do you know?" "Because they only hum when they want to draw you in. They feed off your fear and your confusion. You're already a target," he said, trembling. "You need to leave this place. Tonight." I shook my head, overwhelmed. I could feel a weight pressing down on me. "Leave? Where would I go? I have a job. I can't just run away. And what about you?" "I don't matter," he insisted. "You're the one they want. If they've already begun to follow you, you can't stick around. You'll regret it." His expression was intense, full of urgency, but doubt nagged at me. I could hardly believe what he was saying. Just then, a low hum started to reverberate in the air again, creeping through the house like an unwelcome fog. "What is that?" I whispered, my heart racing. He didn't answer. His eyes grew wide, scanning the dark corners of my living room. "They're getting closer," he said almost to himself. "I can feel them. We have to act now." Then he turned abruptly, heading for the door as if to flee. My instincts kicked in and I grabbed his arm. "Wait, what do we do?" He hesitated, and in that moment, a shiver of dread swept through the room. A loud crash echoed from the backyard, interrupting us. I froze. The sound was like glass shattering. The man broke free from my grip and dashed to the door. "Run!" he shouted. That's when I saw it. A figure standing in the dark beyond the doorway watching. It had no features, just a silhouette against the fading light. Fear flooded me, and I stumbled back, paralyzed by the sight of it. I could feel my breath quicken as the humming grew louder, echoing in my mind. I was trapped in the chaos, and soon I realized I was not just threatened. I was being hunted. I didn't move. The figure loomed in the doorway, a shadow pulled from my worst nightmares. Every instinct screamed at me to turn and flee, but my body felt heavy, like it was rooted to the spot. The humming intensified, filling my ears, drowning out all rational thought. "Don't just stand there," the man shouted, a tremor in his voice. "We need to go, now." He yanked the door open wider and rushed outside. I hesitated, glancing back at the dark figure. For a brief moment, the hum dimmed, and a chill settled over the house. The darkness seemed to stretch and bend, pulling me into its depths. Just as dread threatened to swallow me whole, A sudden burst of courage surged through my veins. I dove for the door, my heart pounding like a drum. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. But it was short-lived. "Over here," the man called from the side of the house. He crouched behind a bush waving for me to join him. I ran, barely glancing back, my feet skimming across the grass. When I reached him, he tugged me down, forcing me to huddle low. "Where are they?" I whispered, pulling in sharp breaths to quiet my racing heart. "They can't see us if we stay low," he replied, his voice tight with urgency. "But we don't have much time, we need to—" His words were cut off by a distant rustling, like branches being torn from trees. The humming was gone, replaced by a new sound, an irregular beat, almost like marching footsteps. I peered over the edge of the bush and caught a glimpse of the figure that had been at my door. It moved slowly, gliding rather than walking. My chest tightened as I realized it was scanning the area, methodically searching for something, or someone. "Stay down," the man hissed, pressing further into the bush. My eyes were glued to the figure. There was something unnatural about how it moved, an eerie smoothness that made my skin crawl. Then, out of nowhere, it stopped. I felt my heart drop as it shifted slightly, as if sensing my presence. "Please don't look this way," I thought, a desperate plea echoing in my mind. "Yes," the man whispered under his breath. "It's connected to you somehow. Don't let it get into your head." "What does that mean?" I shot back, panic rising again. "What does it want with me?" "It wants your fear," he said, his voice steadying. "That's what they thrive on. If we don't get away from here, it will consume you." I didn't know how to process his words. My fear was already a pulsating knot in my stomach. "Where do we go? We can't just stay here." He was about to reply when the figure jerked its head sharply as if it had heard something. My stomach clenched, and I ducked further down, praying it wouldn't find us. Then immediately, from somewhere deep in the woods behind us, a new sound emerged, a growl, low and guttural. My breath caught in my throat. Whatever we were up against just multiplied. "Follow me," the man urged. Without waiting for my answer, he darted into the thick tangle of trees, and I scrambled after him, fear propelling me forward. Darkness swallowed us, and the chirping of crickets drowned out the chaos behind. But I knew in my gut that the worst was yet to come. I could feel it closing in on us, lurking just out of sight. As we stumbled deeper into the woods, the growls grew louder, a sinister chorus that promised we weren't safe after all. Just ahead, the shadows shifted again, and I knew that we were not alone in this forest. Something was watching. Something was waiting. The underbrush cracked beneath my feet as we rushed forward. The trees loomed overhead, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to ensnare us. I had lost all sense of direction, but the man seemed to know where he was going. Each time a growl echoed through the trees, I flinched, fear pulling me deeper into survival mode. "This way," he hissed, veering left. I stumbled after him, my breath coming in ragged bursts. The shadows felt like they were alive, twisting and writhing as we passed. I didn't dare look back. We moved in silence for a while, save for the sound of our footsteps and the distant growls that flickered in and out of earshot. I focused on the man ahead of me, the back of his jacket, the way he moved, quick and calculated. I didn't even know his name. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just someone who's seen things," he replied, glancing back at me. His eyes were wide, alert. "We need to keep going. There's a cabin up ahead." "Cabin?" I felt a flicker of hope. "What cabin?" "It's a safe place," he insisted. There was urgency in his voice that sent a shiver down my spine. "We can lose them there." I nodded, even though I wasn't convinced. My blood ran cold as another growl sounded, closer this time. I picked up my pace, matching my breathing to his steady rhythm. Then, as we rounded a small bend in the trees, I caught sight of it. A small, run-down cabin just barely visible through the underbrush. "There!" I pointed, relief flooding over me. "Get inside," he ordered, pushing the door open. I hurried in, half of me expecting the worst, but the cabin felt calm after the chaos outside. The air was stale, but still, it was a reprieve. Before I could even take in the details, the dusty furniture, the cobwebs in the corners, he slammed the door shut. "Bar it," he said, locking it tight. I stumbled toward the door, my mind racing. "What now?" I asked, panic creeping in. The cabin was dimly lit, shadows draping over every surface. "Now we wait," he replied, his fists clenched. "And listen." We stood in tense silence, listening to the faint rustling outside. I didn't know what was out there, but I felt the weight of its presence bearing down on the cabin walls. Then, out of the quiet, came a soft, insidious hum. It trickled through the air like a chilling breeze, wrapping around us. "No," he muttered, his expression darkening. "They're trying to get in your head. Don't listen." "What? What do you mean?" "Whatever you do, don't let it reach you." His eyes darted toward the windows. "They feed on fear. They'll grow stronger the longer we're here." My pulse raced again. "What are they? What did I do to deserve this?" He hesitated, his gaze flickering to the door. "You don't understand. It's not what you did. It's who you are." I felt ice seep into my veins. "What does that mean?" Then suddenly the cabin shook as something slammed against it from outside. A sharp breath escaped my lips as I staggered back. The door rattled violently, and I knew we didn't have much time. "I'll explain later, just be ready to run," he shouted, taking a defensive stance by the door. Before I could respond, the door splintered under the next blow, and I realized this was just the beginning. The door shuddered violently, splintering more with each hit. My heart raced as I pressed my back against the wall, wishing I could blend into the shadows. The man stood firm, eyes darting to the windows, his body tense like a coiled spring. "Get ready," he shouted, his voice low and urgent. "They won't stop until they find you." I had barely registered his words when, with a final thunderous crack, the door flew open. I gasped as I caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure, distorted and chaotic, framed in the doorway. "Run!" he yelled. Without thinking, I bolted past him, darting toward the back of the cabin. I didn't know where else to go. Desperation pushed me forward, and I scrambled through the clutter as I heard the unmistakable roar of the entity behind us. It sounded primal, like a beast hungry for its prey. Behind me, the man grabbed a heavy object, a rusted iron tool, and hurled it at the figure. It collided with the ground, sending dirt flying, but the creature only hesitated. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. "Keep going," he ordered, his voice now carrying an edge of fear. I had no choice. I dashed toward a window at the back, my breath catching in my throat. I reached the window and looked out. A thick fog rolled in like a curtain wrapping around the trees. The woods seemed to come alive, contorting shapes lurking just beyond the veil. I glanced back, and the man was fighting, defending the cabin from whatever had come to claim us. "Go!" he shouted again, his eyes fierce. "Get out of here!" I had to make a choice. I couldn't think about what waited behind me. I threw open the window and climbed through, bracing myself for the fall. My feet hit the ground hard, stumbling as I landed. The cool air bit into my skin, but I didn't stop. I took off running, the trees a blur around me. The sounds of chaos echoed from the cabin. A crash, a growl, a scream. Panic surged through me, pulling me deeper into the dark. I didn't know where to go, and the path was treacherous, but I pushed through the underbrush, feeling its branches claw at my arms and face. Then, as I veered left, I stumbled into a clearing and froze. That's when I saw it. A faint glow flickering in the distance. Something was out there, yet my instincts pulled me toward it against all reason. I crept forward, heart racing, the whispers of the woods buzzing in my ears. The trees parted to reveal an old fire pit, surrounded by rocks, the fire still smoldering. The warmth was inviting, but I sensed danger lingering. I crouched low, trying to get my bearings, when I heard a soft rustle behind me. I turned slowly, breathless, my heart pounding. Someone stood there, tall and cloaked in shadows. "Welcome to the island," the figure said, voice smooth yet chilling. Panic struck again as I realized the nightmare wasn't over. Whatever I had escaped was just another layer of fear waiting to unfold. I instinctively backed away, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure before me shifted slightly and I noticed a glimmer from beneath the hood. Was it eyes? I couldn't tell, and that uncertainty made the fear swell within me. "What do you want?" I managed to rasp out, my voice trembling. The figure took a step closer and shadows danced across its face. "You belong to this place now," it said, its voice wrapping around me like a cold fog. "The island has chosen you." I didn't understand. All I wanted was to escape. I glanced back toward the direction I had run from, the cabin screams still echoing in my mind. Would he be okay? Had I made the right choice? Suddenly the figure's arm extended, pointing toward the forest. "It's not just the island you need to fear," it said. "You're not safe anywhere, not here, not ever." A rustling from the trees broke the tension, and dread washed over me. Whatever threat had been inside the cabin was still out there, and now it stalked the woods around me. "I need to leave!" I screamed, turning to run again, but before I could take a step the figure reached out, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. "You cannot escape what has already begun." My heart was racing, pounding against my ribs. I struggled against the grip, wanting to force my way free, but fear rooted me in place. "Let me go." "It's not over," it insisted, the hood tilting slightly as if studying me. "You may have escaped the cabin, but you cannot escape the truth. Look around you." I shifted on my feet, my eyes darting between the trees. The darkness felt thicker, almost alive. And then I saw them. Figures emerging from the shadows, their forms distorted, gliding toward me like ghosts. My breath seized in my chest. "Stay back!" I shouted, looking for a way out. But the figures were closing in, surrounding the fire pit, their faces obscured. They whispered unintelligible words that echoed through the clearing, chilling my bones. "Come closer," the figure in the hood urged, its voice softer now, almost soothing. "You need to understand the island's magic. Let it show you." I shook my head violently, feeling more trapped than before. The tension hung heavy in the air, growing thicker as the unknown shapes pressed forward. "I don't want any part of this," I yelled, desperation clawing at my throat. "Then you'll never be free," it replied, dropping my wrist like it held a burden. The figures around the fire pit began to swirl in what looked like a slow dance, the soft glow from the embers casting an eerie light. The whispers blended into one low hum, pulling like a tide. I took a step back. In that moment, the fire flashed brightly, and I saw something flash in the depths of their forms. A connection. A thread binding all of us together. Before I could react, a loud crash echoed from the depths of the forest, breaking the moment. The others froze, their attention drawn away. I seized my chance. I bolted back, heart pounding as I forced my way through the underbrush, dodging branches and roots. But no matter how fast I ran, I could feel the whispers pursuing me like a painful echo. And then everything went dark. I stumbled, falling hard to the ground, the world around me fading out as silence swallowed me whole. What had I landed in? The chilling realization that I was still far from safety sunk in. I woke to the smell of damp earth and something sweetly rotten, heavy in the air. My senses tingled with confusion as I blinked away the darkness. The remnants of fear clung to me like fog, but I couldn't remember why. It took a moment for the sounds of the forest to settle in, the chirping of cicadas, rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls. I pushed myself up, feeling the chill of the ground beneath me. The moonlight filtered through the trees above, casting warped shadows. I was still in the forest. But where exactly? Panic gripped me again. I had to leave. I needed to find the cabin. Rising to my feet, I heard a faint whisper just beyond my vision. I turned, but there was nothing there. Just the trees standing tall, watching. I rubbed my arms, partially from the cold, but mostly to shake off the feeling of being watched. As I stumbled through the underbrush trying to get my bearings, I came across a small clearing. The remnants of a fire pit lay before me, surrounded by jagged stones. My heart raced. It was the same place from before, but different now, emptier, somehow. "Hello?" I called, my voice wavering. The echoes of my own shout were swallowed up quickly, leaving a ghostly silence. Then it hit me. The figure, the cloaked being with the cold, fog-like voice. My skin crawled as I recalled the way it had gripped me. "This island has chosen you." What did that mean? Why me? Just then, a movement caught my eye. I turned sharply to see a shadow darting between the trees, too swift and slim to be a bear. My breath quickened. I wasn't alone. "Is someone there?" I called out again, this time more forcefully. My fists clenched in anticipation of a response. No answer came, but I heard it again. A rustle followed by a whispered name. "Megan." The voice was soft, familiar. It was fleeting like a breeze passing through. But it filled me with both hope and dread. Was it really him? I took a step forward, heart racing as the whisper came again. "Megan, help me." It sounded desperate, and I instinctively followed, breaking into a run. My legs pumped with adrenaline as I darted through the trees, branches scratching at my skin like warning claws. Then without warning, I tripped over something solid, hitting the ground hard. When I looked back, I saw it was another fire pit, but this one was stained dark, like it hadn't seen flame in years. Beside it, there was a broken old chair, worn and splintered, as if somebody had left in a hurry. "Where are you?" I yelled, panic seeping into every word. I scrambled to my feet, trying to assess my surroundings. Suddenly, something glinted from the shadows. I squinted, and as I did, my heart dropped. It was a necklace, identical to one I had once given him as a gift. It lay there, abandoned, its chain tarnished. I rushed forward, grabbing it as a surge of memories flooded my mind. I had no idea how it had come to this place. As soon as I held it in my hand, a terrible thought crept in. Was he, if he needed help? Had the island taken him too? Then I heard the whispers again, louder this time, growing more urgent. "Megan!" they called, beckoning me through the shadows. "You must choose!" A chill settled deep within me. I was being drawn into something far bigger than myself. The island was alive, and it demanded a sacrifice. Would I have to make a choice to save him or myself? In that instant, panic turned into determination. I needed answers. I couldn't let whatever was happening take him from me. I had to understand the magic, and I had to confront the truth before it consumed us both. And that's when I noticed the figures emerging from the dark, their forms shifting like mist. They were back. But this time, I wasn't hiding. The figures closed in around me, their forms becoming more defined. They hovered just beyond the reach of the moonlight, faces obscured, but I could feel their intention. Fear clawed at my throat, but I refused to be paralyzed. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice steady despite the tremor in my legs. They didn't answer, but their silence spoke volumes. I could sense a gathering energy, and it thrummed in the air like a warning bell. One of the figures stepped forward, its shape rippling like water disturbed. "You have something that belongs to us." The voice was hollow, echoing in a way that sent chills racing down my spine. I tightened my grip on the necklace. "This belongs to me. I found it here." My heart raced. Did it really belong to them, or was it just another trap? "Not everything belongs to the owner," the figure replied, tilting its head as if assessing me. "You have been chosen, but you must prove your worth." "Prove my worth?" I shook my head, trying to gather my thoughts. What does that even mean? The whispers surged again, merging into a single phrase that echoed through the clearing. "You must choose." A sudden wind swept through the trees, causing the figures to flicker. My heart pounded as I thought of him. Was this choice tied to his fate? Would I have to sacrifice something to save him? But save him from what? The words of the cloaked figure from before haunted me. "This island has chosen you." Was this the test? A loop of fear and confusion tangled in my mind. "I won't play your game," I shouted, feeling a surge of defiance. The moment I declared it, I saw a movement in the shadows behind the figures. Something bigger was coming, an unseen force moving closer. I could feel a heaviness in the air, like the weight before a storm. Then out of nowhere a blinding light erupted from the center of the clearing, illuminating everything. The figures recoiled, and I squinted against the brightness. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I held my ground, gripping the necklace tightly. Before I could react, an apparition formed within the light. I blinked, my breath hitching. It was him, his features sharp and clear, like a lifeline thrown into the chaos. "Megan," he called, his voice spilling out warm and urgent. "You have to trust me. The island is manipulating you. It wants to keep you here." The light flickered, and the figures began to circle him, their whispered voices rising in a chaotic chant. I stepped forward instinctively, desperate to reach him. What do I do? Panic surged through me, mixing with the hope of seeing him again. But before he could answer, the light began to dim. I realized I had only moments left before it faded entirely. The whispers turned into howls. The figures surged forward, clamoring as if they could snatch him back into the shadows. "Choose, Megan! Choose now!" he yelled, panic weaving into his urgency. And in that moment everything came crashing down. The necklace, the threat of the island, the figures closing in. It all led to this split-second decision. I had to choose. But choose what? That's when everything went dark. I woke with a start, my heart racing as I looked around in disorientation. I was in the clearing again, the air thick with tension, but no one else was there. The fire pit lay quietly in front of me, but the connection I felt to it was potent, as if it were drawing me closer. I glanced down and noticed the necklace still clutched in my hand, glinting softly in the muted light filtering through the trees. The whisperings of the unseen lingered in the air, an echo of something that had almost slipped away. "Choose," I said softly to myself, as if saying it out loud might trigger something. What did that mean? The island? The Watchers? Was this a test? All the horror, all the confusion added up to one terrifying thought. I had to decide what mattered most. I stood gripping the necklace tightly. It felt heavy with significance, laden with memories. Vivid flashes of laughter and warmth broke through the haze of fear. He had given me so much joy, and now, he was out there somewhere calling for me. But what if saving him meant losing myself? I couldn't let fear dictate that choice. The whispers swelled again, drawing me toward the fire pit, urging me to approach. I took a tentative step forward, the shadows feeling closer. "What do you want from me?" I shouted into the silence. My voice bounced off the trees, and an eerie calm settled around me. Most of me wanted to flee, yet another part yearned for clarity. Then, it hit me. I had power, too. The knowledge I gained through my experiences, the resilience from my teachings, and the courage I had built over the years. "I will not play your game," I declared, and with that declaration, I felt the energy shift. The air thickened, vibrating with intensity. The whispers transformed from chaos into something resembling a chant, as if they were both celebrating and warnings. I raised the necklace above my head, feeling its warmth emanate through my fingers. "You don't own me," I declared again, standing my ground against the encroaching shadows. Just as I spoke those words, the figures emerged from the trees again, their faces still obscured but the malice palpable. They surrounded me, their movements fluid and unsettling, whispering in a chorus that rattled my bones. "You have been chosen. You must choose." "Choose what?" I cried, tossing the necklace onto the fire pit. The glow flared to life, illuminating the darkened clearing. "You think I'm afraid? You think you can take my choices from me?" Their whispers grew louder, swirling around me like a tangible fog. But as the flames crackled and light poured forth, I felt my resolve solidify. If I were to make a choice, it would be the choice to stand my ground, not just for myself, but for everyone affected by this insidious force. And then, in the midst of their chaos, I saw it, a faint shape beyond the fire, frozen mid-motion. It was him, the light flickering like an ember caught in the wind. "Megan, you can break the cycle." His voice pierced through the ambient noise, and the clarity of his words filled me with determination. I glanced back at the figures encroaching on me and raised my voice again, more powerful this time. I choose to fight. The shadows hesitated, the growing flame between us casting an ethereal glow that pushed them back. The power surged through me like a tide, rekindled by my choice. I reached into the fire pit, feeling an energy rule the air as my fist closed on the necklace. The designs glimmered in the firelight, intertwined with our memories. I didn't need to understand it all. I needed to trust myself. The ground shook faintly, drawing every lingering shadow toward me as the fire burned hotter. I held the necklace high, embracing my choice, and suddenly the figures recoiled. They howled in protest, voices rippling like waves retreating from the shore. "Megan!" he shouted, the word echoing in my mind. "Let them go! The island doesn't own you!" I felt a rush of heat as the shadows faded into the forest, consumed by the light. I couldn't tell if I was watching or participating in something grander than myself, some ancient dance between choice and consequence. Just before they vanished entirely, a figure turned to me, something flickering behind its shroud. "This isn't over," it hissed, voice full of malice as it melted back into the trees. After a moment, the forest quieted. I stood there, panting, my heart racing as I looked around, the air still heavy with uncertainty. The shadows were gone, but not all of them. I could feel the island humming beneath the surface, a constant reminder that this place was alive and perhaps it would always be so. But I held the necklace tighter, feeling the weight lessen as I walked past the fire pit toward the deeper woods. No longer a captive to choice, I possibly had a way out, as daunting as it felt. Still, as I moved deeper into the dusk, questions lingered. A chill ran down my spine. What remained hidden? What force still lurked in the corners of the world I hadn't yet discovered? I paused for a moment, taking in the vastness of the trees surrounding me. There was still so much to unravel, so much was left unanswered, but I had chosen to survive. I would no longer relinquish my power, and that at least felt like the first solid step on a path unknown.